Good morning. I'm David Silver. Welcome to Grand Circulation Qigong. We're shaking out tension. I worked on a handout so that after this class, you can all get a copy of this handout, which will just give you sort of a reminder of this sequence in a little bit more detail and with some Chinese terminology and diacritical marks. Moving from the shoulders and the whole upper back now, and also start pulsing through the legs so that you're bouncing in the spine. Relieving physical tension allows our qi circulation to become more abundant. Wherever we've got tension in the muscles, tendons, or joints, our circulation of blood, nutrition, oxygen, and energy is reduced or stagnant or sometimes blocked. Meanwhile, slow, deep breathing, inhaling for 5 seconds, exhaling for 5 seconds. Sighing out your breath is a great way to elicit this muscular release. And then plant your feet with your toes pointing straight forward like you're going downhill on skis, and twist. You're twisting from the ankles, through the knees, the hips and waist. Your spine is twisting all the way up to the back of your head. Turn your chin from side to side so you get that full spinal twist. Don't hold the weight of your arms at all. Let your arms swing loosely. Don't hold your breath. Inhale for 5 seconds, exhale for 5. We're at the height of summer right now, so we want our breathing to be matched. The same duration that you inhale, you exhale. When you're ready, come back to the center. The neck and the vagus nerve, which is the mind-body superhighway of communication. We need to stretch the neck. So first, you're going to tilt your chin straight up and look at the ceiling until you feel like you've met some resistance, and then gently see if you can continue lifting your chin and stretch a little bit more intensely. And then chin down to the chest until you're really feeling it in the back of your neck and shoulders. Again, up and down. Up and down. Come back up to the center. Now we're going to lean your head over to the side as if you're trying to touch your ear to the shoulder without lifting your shoulder at all. Once you find that area of tension, concentrate on it. As you inhale, notice that it intensifies. As you exhale, visualize dissolving it. Drop the opposite shoulder so that you create more distance between your ear and your shoulder. Slowly let those muscles release. Don't force anything. Don't muscle your way over there. It's all about letting gravity just pull your head down. And then slowly come up to the center. Slowly tilt to the opposite side. When you feel that tension, inhale, notice that feeling intensifies. Exhale, release it. We have to work on the neck. Nobody likes it. You can easily spend a half hour on the neck and find all kinds of tension in there that we're carrying around. That tension constricts your circulation. One more time, come up to the center, slowly drop to the other side. Change the angle slightly so you're not reworking that same area. Turn your chin so you change the angle. And again, inhale deeply, exhale, release that tension, visualize it dissolving. Soften the muscles more and more. This kind of soft Qigong is so important, especially if you're doing a lot of hard training. Come up to the center. Opposite side, change the angle. Not only in my own Qigong classes, but working for YMAA Publication Center, I hear it all the time. I get all the 50 and 60-year-old karate guys who have trained their guts out their whole life, and now they're like paralyzed, rigid. Soft Qigong will help balance all the strength training you do, all the weapons training. Soften those muscles, release that tension, create space in the side. When you're ready, come back up to the center, and then just make small circles with your neck for a moment. Don't roll your head way back. You can roll the chin forward, but don't roll your head way back. Loosen the neck in both directions. And then, energizing the belt vessel. Typical Kung Fu warm-up, we start to circle the waist. But in this case, we're focusing more on the energetic structure around the waist and its function. Around the waist is the belt vessel. For those of you who don't know, the energy pathways or meridians in the body run lengthwise. They're like rivers of energy. The yang channels are on the outside, the yin channels are on the inside. But in some places, we also have structures that are more like reservoirs. And one of these is around the waist. The belt vessel, sometimes called the girdle vessel, is the only horizontal meridian in the body. This vessel stores energy locally and releases it. It radiates this energy outward, sideways, and this gives you your balance. It also gives you your center. If you can feel strong balance, you can find your center. If you can find your center, you can have strong balance. So they're part of the same central equilibrium. Circle in the opposite direction now. So in this practice, we're just physically pumping circulation through the structure by circling all the way around continuously. But we can also mentally lead the qi. Where your mind goes, energy flows. So you bring your mind into the belt vessel and trace this circle all the way around, orbiting. And then visualize it like sort of like a energetic hula hoop, gradually expanding out here. You become more balanced, your energy field starts to expand. This is an important function of the belt vessel, is that when we lose the strength and flexibility of our waist, the energy at the belt vessel can't expand to its full potential, which restricts your entire body's ability for the Wei Qi to expand at the surface of the skin. Wei Qi means guardian energy. It's your aura. So we have to exercise the belt vessel, and we want to visualize the belt vessel energy expanding outward into your big energetic hula hoop out here. And there are techniques to force this energy to expand, which are more common than just trying to visualize it expanding, which can be a little bit abstract for some people who are not that visual. Can't imagine that, but I understand. So now the ragdoll. We're hanging forward like a ragdoll from the waist. Bend your knees slightly. This isn't about locking the knees. It's about finding flexibility from the entire waist up, dropping the tension of the muscles. So relax your arms like noodles. Relax your head and neck. Relax your upper shoulders and back. Hang loosely. Keep your knees slightly bent. Keep breathing slowly and deeply. Sigh out your exhalations to relieve tension. And then we patiently wait and breathe deeply while the muscles start to gradually release and you reach deeper and deeper layers of tissue. Don't hold any tension in the back, in the arms, in your neck or head. Top of the head towards the floor. Soften the torso completely. When you're ready, come up slowly. You can press your hands into the lower back and do a micro back bend to help yourself stand up tall again. Just gently leaning back. We're sort of breezing through this preparation sequence because I want you to have plenty of time for the 5 gates practice and the full grand circulation training, and have enough time left for some questions. So now, abdominal circles. You want to first connect with the false dantian. The false lower dantian is this structure in our abdomen, our six-pack, and our layers of muscle fascia, muscle fascia, muscle fascia. So we're going to be moving the abdomen in a circle, a forward rotating circle. Not as if you're massaging it with the hands, but you're massaging it from within by flexing. Draw the abdomen in, and then try to see if you can sequentially get it to circle. There are different moving patterns you can do with this. You can go forward. You can try to get it to go from the side to the side, the opposite side, with muscle control of the abdomen. But the goal is to start moving the abdomen and start metabolizing any fat into energy. Our fat is already filtered by the liver. It is pure energy waiting to happen. It's available resources. And just through abdominal movement, we start to utilize it. This is the false dantian, because any energy we manifest through this movement right now will immediately go into our circulation and be consumed today. That's why we have to locate the real dantian, which is deeper inside the body, all the way in your physical center. But these abdominal circles are important to become familiar with, and you ultimately want to incorporate them into a practice. There are all kinds of different variations when you get deeper into muscle tendon changing practice. There's a partner version where you just lay there with no physical tension, and a friend or partner, training partner, will massage the abdomen for you to metabolize energy. The purpose of that is that you're not moving at all, so you're not manifesting chi at all. You're only creating more energy in your body. But in this practice, we just move it until you feel the abdomen and the abdominal muscles are stimulated and activated and energized. And then relax. Paida, slapping or pounding the body. There are all kinds of sequences, all kinds of versions. We're just going to go kind of quickly through this so that you're familiar with, you may already do the sort of typical pounding, which is a loose fist. You're not hurting yourself, you're not bruising yourself. But in this, we're just tapping. Tapping is equally valid. So we'll just go through the whole body sequence. This version goes from top to bottom. So the outer forehead, not the center. Then with one hand on the top of your head, the crown, center, the byway cavity, 100 meetings place. One arm, and then the opposite arm. I promise I won't make you do this also. I know it feels silly, but this wakes up the chi. It connects the mind and body. Then the temples. Typically, you don't do the pounding on the head unless you're a Shaolin monk. We keep the pounding for the limbs and the abdomen. The back of the neck. You can sort of work your way from the top of the neck down. And then the occipital lobe, or the jade pillow, which you might be familiar with from the 8 brocades, gently tapping the back of that little knob structure on the back of your skull. Hopefully it's still a little knob structure. I have read that the younger generation are growing larger and larger horns, protuberances of bone, because they are looking at their phones all day long and stressing the tendon ending there at the occipital lobe. Don't grow horns. Please don't grow horns. Tapping the occipital lobe. And then gently your third eye. The third eye is not only here, it's also here. It's the whole forehead. There's 2 points involved. Bringing the chi to the surface and percussing the bones. Cheeks. And then crossing over, gently tapping under the jawline. You can communicate to the vagus nerve through here. This is what controls your fight or flight reflex. And when it gets too tense, and when the tissue around it gets too tense, you become more prone to anxiety, worry, stress, full-blown panic attacks. We have to stimulate and gently release on one side and then the other. Next, we're going to the shoulder with a sort of chopping motion, opposite arm to the opposite shoulder. On that big muscle that you always carry a huge knot of tension around in. This is another thing that really bears repeating on a regular basis. Other side. Don't knock yourself out with a well-placed karate chop. I'm sorry, but next is armpits. It just is. Reaching across, chopping. Stimulating the tissue to release around the lymph nodes down here. Opposite side. Upper chest. Not traditionally in Paida very often, but I also recommend tapping with the fingertips in the center, the thymus gland. Releasing all kinds of stress. The thymus gland regulates the hormones that regulate your emotions. And then the abdomen. Kidneys. The kidneys are poking out just below your lowest rib. And then one hand loosely tapping the sacrum. Other hand, the sacrum is your tailbone. The sacred bone, sometimes called the oracle bone or immortal bone, it is the last part of the body to decay in the ground when we're dead. Inguinal crease, the qua, the hips, chopping. Then the sides of the butt. If you've ever had sciatic pain, you know this spot. If you've ever had acupuncture done, this is a spot they may work on. YMAA, they'll work on this area. And then we speed up for the legs. The thighs, inside and out. Both sides. Same thing on the lower legs. Sometimes you'll see it done opposite. Sometimes you'll see yang channels done first, yin channels done second. I'm going to come a little closer for these two. These are earlier in the sequence, but they're important to understand, and one of the most important parts. The inner elbow. It's always advised to spend more time on this point. And other side. Slapping the back of your hands and fingers. Paida is kind of counterintuitive, but it's simple as this. Can you bring your mind to the back of your hand? It's a little bit abstract. but you just did that by that stimulation. You force the chi to manifest in that place. You force the nerves to react. And in my classes, about 50% of people end up later in life with peripheral neuropathy, which means the energy is not quite reaching the periphery of their nervous system anymore, the edges of their hands, the edges of their feet. That's when they can't feel their feet, they start to fall down. You go to the hospital, you get MRSA, etc. So peripheral neuropathy can be offset or reversed through this kind of nervous system stimulation, unless there was a chemical poisoning that caused it, which is another potential cause. So Paida can lead to this kind of pounding, which I'm sure you're familiar with in Kung Fu class. That's a whole nother routine you can do. But in general, if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling weak, if you're feeling depressed or exhausted, or like you're not physically feeling that well, maybe you're fighting a cold or something, this kind of pounding is more aggressive in stimulating the bones and the bone marrow and getting your chi to move. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Now, getting into the third.
David, can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
So you'd mentioned, and I think I've attended other workshops where you do the yang channels first or second, and like moving down away from the shoulder versus coming up towards the center of the body. Same with the legs. I imagine that has a different result, maybe, or is it just a different way to remember how to do everything?
I honestly think it's just a way to remember how to do things sequentially. This is more of an old school Shaolin way of Paida.
Okay.
And they don't get too fussy about where the end result will be, because I think all the roads lead to the same general result.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Thank you.
Sure. You could look at it like you're manifesting the yang channels, which manifests this chi out more aggressively, and then you stimulate the yin channels so that you conserve more. We're going to be doing so much conserving anyway, that would be sort of like extra. But if you were only doing Paida, you might consider approaching it that way. Now, the third eye. Third eye is not only here. We need to understand this structure slightly. The third eye is also up here, the ajna. This is your actual third eye. What is this thing? Is it real? Yes. If you meditate a lot, you may sometimes feel this pressure in the forehead, usually around here. You can even feel heavy, like there's a roll of quarters in your forehead. That's what it used to feel. This weird, big thing is there. That's the bone blocking the energy. Our bones are semiconductors, which means they don't conduct energy until they reach threshold voltage, and then they turn on. That's the awakening of the third eye. It takes a lot of energy to pass through this amount of bone. And there's a whole lot more involved in the psychological and energetic cultivation involved before you're suddenly opening your third eye. It's not a common experience, just so we're clear. People throw around the word like, I had an enlightening chat this weekend, or I had an enlightening donut. You didn't. The word enlightening means omnipotence. It means you know what everyone's thinking, you know what's happening on the planet, you're clairaudient, you're clairvoyant, all kinds of things start to transform in the physical and spiritual body. So we're tapping the forehead to connect to the third eye. We're just sort of communicating to this place. This creates a vibration which resonates through the center of our brain. Remember, the center of our brain is made in two hemispheres with a gap. That gap in our brain down the center line is called the spiritual valley. It's a resonant chamber. So tapping here to wake up the third eye, and then also tapping top center line of the head, this crown chakra in Qigong, the Bai Hui point. We tap it because it's hard to bring your mind there and feel it. Like if I say, bring your mind to the top of the head, Some percentage of people will physically feel the sensation there, and others will go, I'm thinking about doing that, but I'm not leading the chi there. Leading the chi means you have to bring your concentrated 100% attention to that place. Tapping forces it to happen. So we wake up these points because we're trying to connect with this structure in the center of our head, which is right between your two ears, the pineal gland in the center of your brain. The pineal gland is a hollow little structure. It's full of little microcrystals, and it acts like a receiver and a transmitter. It has retinal cells that point up through the crown center, and it continues upward from there. So we energize this structure by bringing our attention there. So for a moment, if you would, just close your eyes, listen to the sound of your ears. For a moment, you hear the nerves ringing in your ears slightly. Hopefully none of you have louder ringing than that. And then bring your mind into the center. Don't bring your mind to the forehead where we typically think about using the third eye. Draw it back into the center. If you can, hold your attention there as you inhale and as you exhale in the center of your head. This is the real upper dantian. And then for a moment, if you can, imagine if you could bring the energy in the center of your head upward to that point on the top of your head, the crown center. So it's connecting into a tiny little line connecting the pineal gland and the baihui. Just concentrating on that structure. This practice alone can be pretty difficult. People's minds wander, so you need to start to get involved in meditation, observing the breath, staying focused and centered. If thoughts come, just let them pass. Don't stress about it. Don't beat yourself up. We're not trying to stop thought. We're trying to just ignore thought. Thought will always happen. Like your heart pumps blood, your brain pumps thoughts. Thoughts are irrelevant. You are not your body. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are this energy, this consciousness. So reside in that tiny little energetic space in the center of the head, touching upon the baihui. Our most fundamental consciousness is our core energy merged with this little spark of consciousness. It's not our identity. It's not everything we've learned in our lives, except for major karmic lessons. It's just pure awareness. And the more that you hone in on that pure awareness, the more it starts to become luminous. Like a little spark of light, and then a big spark of light, and then it gradually becomes brighter and brighter. We tap into this early on just to become familiar with this upper energy center in a little bit more personal way. It's always so abstract when you talk about and work with this structure. It is a very real structure. The energy we're working with is real. And this energy body that exists outside of the physical body is also real. That's what the enlightenment process is about, is strengthening that energetic body so it can remain more stable and gradually sort of blossom. Leave it at that. So now we're familiar with the upper energy center. We want to tune into the lower energy center a little bit more. The real lower dantian, I'm sure you know in Kung Fu class, is not on the surface of the abdomen, but it's deeper inside. All the way back in the center of your abdomen, just in front of the spine, there's a structure called the mesentery. They thought it was just extra tissue They had no idea what its purpose is. Only recently they named it as a new human organ, and it is highly likely the sort of brain center of this lower dantian. It is a structure in our guts which is capable of drawing in and storing more energy than normal. The more you bring your mind there, the more you train this structure to hold more and more abundant energy. So first, it's typical to practice abdominal breathing in order to sort of pump this energetic structure and start to energize deeper inside. Normal abdominal breathing, you're probably familiar with. You inhale and expand the abdomen, push the belly out, push the back out, fill your lungs completely. The diaphragm pushes down and everything expands. As you exhale with normal abdominal breathing, the abdomen contracts. Pull the abdomen in, pull the back in, the diaphragm moves up as you exhale, and also you're lifting the perineum, the pelvic floor. So again, inhale, expand the belly, expand the back, the perineum moves down. Exhale, everything condenses inwards towards the center and you lift the pelvic floor up. Inhale and expand. Exhale and contract. This is sometimes called Buddhist breathing. Think of a big hoi toi Buddha with a big belly. This is all about hoi toi, having abundant energy. Inhale to the center. Exhale and expand. Inhale to the center. Normal abdominal breathing is very relaxing. It's great to practice in meditation or when you need to relax or when you want to fall asleep. It brings your energy into the center line, and it is very gentle in cultivating more abundant energy than normal. Moving the pelvic floor, the perineum, your taint, is the crucial key to making this happen, because when we move that musculature, amazingly, the entire spine and all the spinal fluid moves 2 centimeters and nudges inside the head, the upper energy center in the pineal gland. When you inhale and expand and push the pelvic floor down, the spine drops down significantly. The fluid draws down. When you exhale and condense everything in towards the center and lift the pelvic floor, the spine lifts up, the fluid pumps into the brain and flushes fresh nutrition and oxygen and energy into your upper energy center. So the pelvic floor movement is a little awkward and weird, whatever, but it's actually the most important part that you've got to do. Buddhist breathing, normal abdominal breathing is inhaling and expanding, dropping down, inhaling and contracting, drawing in and up. Some people prefer to do this and will only do this, and just this alone is a great practice for your general health and your cultivation in meditation. But the Taoists were like, no, I'm going to enlighten in this lifetime. I'm going to make it happen. The Taoists came around 800 CE, Common Era, and very quickly merged with the Buddhists because the Buddhism was outlawed and the Buddhists went to hide in the Taoist temples, and they merged a lot of their training. And in that practice, it became most common in like Tai Chi Chuan and all internal Chinese martial arts to use reverse abdominal breathing. Reverse abdominal breathing is a little bit more aggressive in generating energy and cultivating it to a higher capacity quickly. So it goes like this. Now you're inhaling, but you're drawing the abdomen in, you're lifting the pelvic floor up. As you fill your lungs, your diaphragm pushes down, draw the back muscles in, so you're condensing everything in this chamber of the abdomen as you inhale. Pressurizing. As you exhale, Release. You expand the abdomen, loosen the back, drop the cranium. The same movement is happening, but it's a slightly different sequence, right? You're inhaling, condensing inward, everything, but the diaphragm is pushing down as well. So it creates this tension and pressurization inside the abdomen. Exhale and release. To go further, practitioners would wrap the body with a belt so that when you exhale, you have something to push against and create resistance. The resistance is a higher spirit. Higher spirit manifests more chi. That, ironically, is why we now have stupid cummerbunds. Because practitioners used to wrap their abdomen with a belt to train internal cultivation, and then Britain invaded the Middle East and gradually copied the uniforms of the practitioners in the Middle East and came home wearing belts and looking fancy, and then they wore their military garb in public, and then now we have a meaningless cummerbund. But you're all familiar with a wide belt as it's worn in Kung Fu class. That same belt is what eventually evolved into the ranking system in other lineages like karate. It's meant to be this internal cultivation tool. So, refreshing. Again, you inhale, draw the abdomen in and up, lift the pelvic floor, abdominal and back muscles draw inward. You're filling your lungs completely, and then exhale. You got it. Reverse abdominal breathing pumps more energy than normal into the abdomen and forces this chi circulation to take place and forces the spine to move and engages this structure. As Master Yang says, these two polarities of the body, the lower energy center, the upper energy center, are they two? No, they're one. Are they one? No, they're two. You have to sort of reside in both places simultaneously over time. Ultimately, it is advisable, anytime you're practicing something with a strong intention, use reverse abdominal breathing. We naturally do that anyway. Anytime you're going to like manifest your energy, like push a car, we've all had lemon vehicles. When you need to manifest your energy, you inhale, lock the breath in the musculature, exhale, and push, right? That same thing is what we're reverse engineering in Qigong. But ultimately, you want to start for grand circulation and meditation, and if you're interested in deeper meditation and spiritual enlightenment, you want to draw the energy in and not manifest it out into the physical structure. You just gather more and more inside until it becomes such an abundance of chi, it sort of merges with your core consciousness and allows your core consciousness to become more powerful and capable of existing outside the physical body. That's what this whole practice is about. I would argue that that's actually the root of all religions. They just kind of forgot. It's old teaching. So the goal here is embryonic breathing meditation. This is still reverse abdominal breathing, but now when you inhale, your mind is deep inside the center of the abdomen. And when you exhale, your mind is also deep within the center of the abdomen. Close your eyes. Inhale, draw the abdomen in and up, lift the pelvic floor, condense everything into the center. At the end of your inhalation, sort of pause. You're not rigidly holding your breath, you're just lingering at the end of inhalation. And then exhale, hold your mind in that place. See if you can concentrate in that tiny little point inside the abdomen. The body releases, everything expands. Again, inhale, you're gathering energy into the center of your abdomen. See if you can visualize a little spark of light in there. Exhale and expand. release. Again, inhale. That light in the abdomen glows more brightly, like you're blowing on the coals of a fire. You're activating it, you're energizing it. This is a process that can take 5 or 10 minutes, but we're needing to move quickly through it. Inhale into the center, visualize that ball of energy. And ultimately, when you build a stronger and stronger feeling of the energy in the lower dantian, you gradually become aware of the connection through the spine to the upper dantian. And then as you're breathing, these two places are pulsing with you. Inhale and condense. You're drawing energy in. Exhale and release, and they shine brightly. Inhale and condense. You're drawing energy in. Exhale, and both dantians are energized. And then from there, in embryonic breathing practice, you can do things like take the abundant energy in your abdomen and lead it up through the spine to your brain. Or you can take this very sharp consciousness in the center of the head and draw it down into the lower energy center. The goal is that you're communicating between these two structures and strengthening this already existing relationship. This place in the abdomen by Western medical science is called the second brain. They discovered it 100 years ago. They've done virtually nothing with it until recent years, where they're starting to really delve into the biome and the mesentery, and it'll be another 50 years before their textbook on the subject comes out. But the textbook already came out. It is already available within Buddhism. In many, many sutras, they talk about the chi, the winds. In Tibetan Buddhism, they've explained this in graphic detail. In yoga traditions, they've explained it in graphic detail. You just need to trace back the root of whatever lineage you're interested in, and it's all right there. And it's definitely coming to the forefront right now. There's something happening where this sort of rare teaching has now really blossomed and become widely prevalent. It's a time, I think, that this is, it's almost like this information is trying to reach us. So now we understand the inner energetic structure of the upper dantian, the lower dantian. When you start to bring the energy out to the surface of the body, you start getting into small circulation and then grand circulation. Small circulation involves two more vessels. We've already talked about the belt vessel around the waist. And in the spine, that's the changmai, that means thrusting vessel, because it happens so quickly, instantaneous communication between the upper and lower brain. Now, we're working with a vessel that moves from the mouth down the center line of the body and down around, up the back outside of your spine, up and over the top of the head, and back down to the mouth. This is the small circulation. In yoga, it's called the microcosmic orbit. One of the vessels is here, and the other runs from the navel down and around, up the back outside of the spine, up and over the top of the head, and it meets at the mouth. And so to practice small circulation, typically we touch the tongue to the roof of the mouth to bridge that gap and help the energy move more quickly through our open mouths and through this whole sort of, open structure of the throat. So typically, people will exhale from the navel and visualize this energy moving down the front of the body, down and around. Inhale from the lower back up to the point about between the shoulder blades or so, the Dazue cavity here. Exhale down the front of the face, and then inhale again into the navel. That's one microcosmic orbit. But the breathing is a strategy. However many breaths it takes you to complete this orbit is fine. So first, don't think about the breathing. Just see if you can bring your mind into this structure. What are these structures? They are real. They are our tendons and our fascia. If you look on an anatomy chart, you see a big red meat body, and then you see the white stripes of tendons down the front, tendons and fascia acting like superconducting layers of energy, trapping energy, storing energy, not kinetic energy, potential energy. So, however you like, close your eyes, visualize leading your chi along the small circulation pathway. Up the back, typically people will inhale up the back and then exhale from the shoulder blades up and over the top of the head. Inhale from the mouth down the front of the body to the navel. Exhale from the navel down and around between the legs and up the back. Inhale to assist up the back. Exhale over the top of the head. All of this feels very esoteric and abstract, and if you don't have a feeling of leading the chi, it can be a little bit empty feeling. But this circulation is happening all day, every day of your life, so it's a matter of becoming aware of it, tapping into the feeling of it, increasing the quantity of chi involved, and gradually widening these vessels, energizing the structures to the point where they have a much stronger physical sensation. When you practice small circulation, it adds a lot more energy to the whole body structure. You feel more powerful. It becomes more difficult for you to get sick. It's a way to energize the whole body. Master Yang has developed something called the small circulation, which is a safe way to lead abundant chi. Right now, most of us probably don't have a storage of abundant energy to the degree where it can become dangerous to lead it, because if you lead it to the wrong place, it's almost like you zap those points or those internal organs. There are stories of people who have practiced internal cultivation who fried the nerves in their legs and became paralyzed. Master Yang's White Crane Master had a brother, cousin, living at the farm where they trained, and this guy was paralyzed from internal cultivation done wrong. And there's many stories about this sort of thing. That's why you close the legs and seal and cross the legs when you meditate, to seal that energy. But anyway, we probably don't have such abundant energy that we're going to zap ourselves. However, in general, it's a good idea to just understand that the energy that we're working with is real. It's not any special kind of energy. Energy is energy. It's electromagnetic energy. It's like the energy in your wall or the energy in the stars. It's only differentiated by the frequency. And it's starting to sound like the frequency that chi energy vibrates at is in the terahertz range, which is above microwave and below infrared. It's a very fast, high rate of vibration. It's real. So the small circulation is a way to just use the lower half to practice more and more and more until you do feel like you have abundant energy. And then once you've gained a lot of experience with leading the chi, you can safely lead it into the larger small circulation path without any risk of it going astray, or you spacing out and forgetting what you were doing, and then you are energizing something too much. The small circulation looks like this. You're exhaling from the navel, Exhale down and around. And then you're inhaling from the tailbone into the Mingmen. Your Mingmen is just below the kidneys, about the same height. It is right at the lowest rib between L4 and L5. You've got this point, and so you need to slightly round the back to open the Mingmen, as I'm sure you're familiar with, as you inhale. And then you exhale down the front. Inhale, rounding the back. This is the small circulation. Only the abdomen, the lower energy center, is involved. And you can do the small circulation seated, but it's advisable to do it standing. And this is something you might practice for many months. The small circulation allows you to feel the chi, move past skepticism, have strong physical experiences of your energy to the point where you're like, holy moly, that feels a lot more substantial than I thought it would. And then you cautiously step into the full small circulation, avoiding tricky gates or places that you want to be careful to not over-energize, like don't zap your brain, for instance. So small circulation is something you need to know about. It's a step on the path towards grand circulation if you're going to train it to an advanced level. But if you're just training grand circulation so that you have more chi within your movements right now, without focusing on this baseline of abundant energy, we're talking about very abundant energy in that place, then we can get into whole body practices where we're using the grand circulation in a safe way that you can incorporate into your Kung Fu, into your Tai Chi, your weapons forms, whatever. So there's a few ways to do this. First, rooting exercise. In the center of the soles of your feet, I'm sure you're aware of the Yang Chuan cavity. It's right behind the ball of your foot. It's a tiny little physical divot. You can fit your fingertip in there, sort of. And this gate is a wide open energy conduit for your grounding energy. Not a metaphor, your actual grounding energy, like a grounding wire. Your body's energy harmonizes with the earth's energy through the feet. So in this practice, we're practicing rooting exercise, but we're doing it in a Qigong way. So typically rooting exercise for Kung Fu purposes, you would just stand either feet wider than the shoulders, or on 2 bricks, or on 4 bricks, or on 9 bricks, if you're in a retreat center, whatever. And you train exhaling and rooting and feeling, sensing Jing and listening Jing, and getting familiar with finding your roots, no matter what the obstacles are, and deepening your roots. But in this practice, it's a Qigong approach where we're starting here from the abdomen. Inhale deeply so that you're energizing the real lower dantian. Exhale down through the legs and out through the soles of the feet. And completely finish your exhalation and then squat down in the legs. And linger at the end of your exhalation, not exactly holding the breath tightly. You don't want any constriction in your chest. And then inhale back up. Bring your mind into the center of the abdomen again. Pull the abdominal muscles in and up. Exhale down through the legs. Wait until you reach the soles of the feet and out. Visualize your feet growing roots into the earth. Only after you've reached the bottom of the feet, you add tension to the legs and squat and pause your breathing. Inhale, back up, gather energy into your core. Condense those muscles intensely. Exhale down through the soles of the feet. Squat down. Pause the breath. Again. As you exhale, visualize the feet growing roots, expanding outward, giving you the most stable, balanced feeling of your life. You're plugging into the earth with this incredible, balanced, centered feeling. As you inhale, you're gathering energy in and up, and that ball of energy in the center of your abdomen glows brightly. Pull the abdomen in and up so that you can feel it in there. Exhale down through the soles of the feet and squat. Pause. Inhale, in and up, gathering into the center. One more time. Exhaling way down into the earth, down into your roots, 6-10 feet below your feet. As you exhale and then pause, that energy continues to expand outward and down. As you inhale and gather into your core, bright light is shining inside the abdomen. This energy is becoming more abundant. You're charging your battery. And I'll just briefly mention that grounding practice, which is typically just go outside barefoot and either stand or sit in a chair with your feet flat on the ground for 15 or 30 minutes, is now becoming prescribed by doctors, naturopaths, and doctors on the West Coast and a few in little places throughout the US, and it will gradually become more common. When your feet are bare on the ground, not with rubber insulating soles, but bare on the ground, you're uptaking ions, electrons. The more you do it, the more you'll feel it, the more it will happen. But we need to get to a place where there is grass and put in the time of flat feet on the ground. That is also a form of rooting, and it's a typical grounding practice. It's a classic traditional Qigong as well. So now we understand the roots and the structure through the legs. Now we get into the 4 gates practice. In the center of the palms, where your middle finger touches the palm, is the Lao Gong. You're probably familiar with it. The Lao Gong is aligned with the middle finger, which is why the middle finger is the longest. The Lao Gong is on the pericardium channel. The pericardium is a sac around your heart. It's sort of like the radiator for your heart's motor. And it's always releasing excess energy in order to maintain equilibrium in the heart. So we're always releasing energy from the hands all day long. When you exhale, it increases. When you bring your mind there, it multiplies exponentially. It's very easy for us to lead the chi through the hands. We're constantly communicating with our minds to the hands to do stuff all day long, right? So it's really easy when I say, lead the chi to your hand. If you just raise your hand for a moment, and I say, bring the chi into this hand, you bring your mind to there, and you can immediately start feeling it. But if you're someone who's like, your thinking brain is in the way, you're not sure, you're sort of feeling the chi, you're not sure about the sensation of chi, wave your fingers. There's your chi. James Randi owes me $1 million check. Chi is our bioelectricity. Your mind generates electromotive force, and then chi arrives. So without the wiggling, we can lead the same quantity of chi through these gates and through our limbs and through our entire body on a cellular level. For 4 gates practice, first stationary, your hands face down towards the earth. Your feet are still practicing rooting. As you inhale, you're gathering energy into the center of the abdomen, in through the arms and legs, gathering it into your abdomen. As you exhale, your energy moves down the arms and legs, down the hands, out through the center of the palms, and you're exhaling through the hands and feet. So in this practice, it's getting into a rhythm with your breathing. Inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In the abdomen. Condense all the muscular in and up. Reverse abdominal breathing. Exhale. You're growing roots through the feet. Place your hands on a plank of wood that's floating on the surface of the water and push it down below the surface of the water 1 or 2 inches. Inhale into the center of the abdomen. Exhale beyond the hands and feet. Inhale, gather energy into the center of the abdomen. Pull those muscles in, lift the pelvic floor up. Conducts everything intensely inward. Exhale very slowly. Bring your mind beyond the hands and feet, slowly pushing the hands downward. Keep going and I'll explain. This practice of placing your hands on a plank of wood that's floating on the surface of the water is such a great visual metaphor because it floats. And the only way you can press this wood below the surface of the water is through continuous pressure the entire time you're exhaling. So it gives you a clue that as you're exhaling to lead the chi, you don't exhale and the chi goes there. You exhale and your mind goes down here and stays down here the entire time you're exhaling. And when you inhale, your mind is in here the entire time you're inhaling. Exhale beyond the hands and feet, at least a foot below the hand. Push down here. Your intention leads your energy. The yi leads the chi. Inhale into your core. And now a moving version. You're going to inhale and lift the arms. Begin Tai Chi. Exhale. Now it becomes larger. We're moving more energy. So you want this feeling like as you inhale, there's pong. You're inflating the whole body. The body's energy expands. Keep inhaling, keep inhaling. Exhale, and it's like you're pushing a big yoga ball down below the surface of the water. At the end, you can squat the legs, pause. Inhale, draw upward. Pong, expanding energy throughout the entire body. Exhale, big yoga ball pushing down below the surface of the water. Squat the legs. Pause at the end of your exhalation. Your energy continues to expand more and more and more. Inhale, gathering energy into your core. Exhale. Through the hands and feet. Sink down into the legs. Pause. Again. No gap in your breathing. Exhale, pause, and then continuous inhalation for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. When we're moving, we're breathing. When we're breathing, we're moving. When you're ready, come back up to the center. Maybe by now you can feel the 4 gates. If not, sometimes it can be helpful to massage the center of the palm, the Laogong cavity on one side and the other side. It can be helpful to smack the hands together, create warmth and friction, electromagnetic energy. You can open and close the hands very quickly. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Now, one leg forward, one leg back. Typical Dengsan mountain climbing stance. Keep your back heel down. Your front knee is about in line with your ankle, of course. And this is about pushing now. The same exact practice, but as you exhale from chest height, 4 gates practice. Exhale through your roots, exhale through the hands. As you inhale, you're gathering inward. We're making a small forward circle. Exhale and push. Inhale, gather into your abdomen. Exhale, completely empty your lungs, push from that back heel, extend through the base of your palms. Inhale, gathering energy into your core always. Reverse abdominal breathing. Exhale, your hands are at about chest height. Don't lift the hands above the chest because we don't want to be tensing the shoulders. If you're tensing your shoulders, you're blocking your chi. Shoulders are totally loose. Inhale into your core. Exhale into the 4 gates. So you can see, once you get into a rhythm with the 4 gates practice, inhale into your core, abdomen, exhale through the hands and feet. You can see how you could incorporate this into your Kung Fu sequences, into weapons forms. In general, when your limbs are moving away from the center line, you're exhaling. When your limbs are moving in towards the center line, you're inhaling. That can change strategically based on what the martial application is. It starts getting complicated. But see if you can pick a form that you're very comfortable with and really focus on a 4 gates circulation within that form. Obviously, that's what Tai Chi is. Now switch legs. We're pushing a big heavy object. So you don't want to just be passively like, I'm circling, this is awesome. It's not about your arms at all. It's about the body getting involved. The lower spine is bending. You're rolling up the back into your core, gathering all the musculature inward. Exhaling, circling forward. It's a whole body practice. Push from the back heel, push back from the front foot. Reverse abdominal breathing. With every repetition, you're inhaling into your core, exhaling from the 4 gates. It's easy, but it's not easy. You're like the conductor of an orchestra. You have to work on refining each one of these details over and over and over again until they become second nature. And it's different for everyone, but after some period of months, it becomes very natural to practice reverse abdominal breathing and 4 gates circulation. This is a form of grand circulation. But what are we missing? The body's larger energetic field. Right now, what we're working with is your internal energy, emitting from the palms, strengthening the hands and arms, manifesting your power within the physical structure. But simultaneously, when we're working with the 4 gates, we are also expanding and contracting our Wei Qi. Now come back to the center. Your Wei Qi normally expands about a fist's distance away from your skin. Right here, it's this little cushion of energy that surrounds the body. Beyond this immediate energy field, there are larger fields and larger fields. Each component of the body emits its own electromagnetic field. Some of them are smaller. Your heart's electromagnetic field is 18 feet in diameter. Magnetic fields go like this, out and around. If you've ever seen like a bar magnet, the magnetic field goes up and out, radiates outward, is field of influence, and then back in. Same happens with our bodies. So that 18-foot diameter energy field is also your body. That is also your aura. But the Wei Qi that we're working with typically is this more close energy field radiating just from the immediate skin. When we're exhaling, the skin is exhaling. When we're inhaling, the skin inhales and we gather energy into the center line of the body and into the bones and the bone marrow. So ultimately, this practice can become what is known as skin and bone marrow breathing. You inhale and you're drawing energy in through the surface of the skin. The skin is drinking in energy. Exhale, and the skin is exhaling with you. This energy expands. And practitioners through the years learned about this. You can read about the Tibetan monks up in the Himalayan mountains, naked except for wet sheets wrapped around their bodies, melting the snow in a circle around their bodies. And attendants will stand there for days with them in the Himalayan mountains, wrapping fresh, wet sheets around them so they can dry them. We would die immediately. This is all about generating internal heat and then learning to expand external energy. For our general purposes, when you start to practice 4 gates or 5 gates breathing and expand your Wei Qi, you stop getting sick. It becomes very difficult for you to catch a cold or a flu. I won't say anything about viruses because that's an entirely different mechanism. They hook into you, creepy little machines. We're all sick of viruses. But in general, your Qi circulation is more abundant, your spirit is higher, your neurochemistry is better, your stress hormones are lowered, and this expanded Wei Qi acts like a filter and a shield for negative pathogens. Traditional Chinese medicine, negative pathogens are like wind and damp and cold, but also things like fluorescent lights in the supermarket, power lines, all kinds of frequencies of energy that we're bathing in, 5G, 6G, 9G, 1000G, whatever it's going to be. This is electrosmog. We are inundated in it all day, every day. You can't see it, but it is real. You need to be aware of it. You need to take it somewhat seriously. Don't lay your head down next to your router. Pro tip. Okay, so in this practice, we expand our Wei Qi just by thinking about it. Inhale into your core. Exhale, slowly exhale to the maximum. Pause and hold your breath. If it were the autumn, we could use the ha sound, which is like that's safe to practice in the autumn and winter, not at the height of summer. So we can practice a modified version that's silent at the base of the throat and very gentle. I'll do it audibly so you can hear it, but ultimately it should be silent. You're constricting the exhalation at the base of the throat with a hot breath like you're trying to fog up a mirror or window. Inhale like normal, and then and pause. Again, inhale like normal. Exhale. And pause. Constricting the breath at the base of the throat generates this internal pressure and heat, and it manifests out through the skin. You'll break a light sweat immediately, your pores will open, and you're starting to elicit the response that we're seeking. But this is a physical manifestation of it that you can practice so that you can really go, wow, this is really working, and get invested in it and then trust it. Ultimately, and I hear this a lot from ladies, I don't want to get hot. Don't make me more hot. Please don't give me hot flashes. I hate this class. So you can practice it without the heat. You can practice it in a silent way where you're exhaling and manifesting your chi outward and expanding this energy in a very peaceful, subtle way. But I feel like it's really important to really have at least one strong experience of like blasting yourself with heat to go, holy smokes, this works. Because then it's in your tool belt, your utility belt of health. You can pull it out when you're like, I feel depressed, I am getting a cold, I'm exhausted, I had insomnia, whatever it is. You practice ha sound breathing in this modified, safe way for summertime and expand your Wei Qi. You energize the body, you feel more vital, you feel like you can function for the day. But ultimately, experiment with it. Once you've had that sort of heat experience, tone it down, slow it down, get into a place where you're silently cultivating this expansion of your energy without eliciting that crazy warming response that's a bit overwhelming. And now we need to get into 5 gates. The 5th gate.
Sorry, yeah. I'm just gonna throw some things out there real quick. We're approaching 10:30, which is fine. I can sort of have my Kung Fu People independent study. Don't feel like you have to wrap up for folks that have to go. That's totally fine. But I just wanted to put out there, if you're a Wu Dao student, then I can go ahead and invoice you for the workshop, and I'll be sending you via email list your link to the recording of this event. If you're not a Wu Dao student, I believe Florist of the Metaverse, you might be the soul soldier there. You can go ahead and PayPal us, wudaokungfu@gmail.com. And then James, we had a little exchange via email, so glad you could join us today. There were a couple of other folks that flipped in. There was a Jim and a Dina and a Brandon. I'm guessing, David, you probably know those folks if you want to reach out to them. No?
I just did a generalized broadcast on.
Oh, sure.
Online.
Okay, that's fine. Win some, you lose some. And if you had your screen muted today, just let us know if there was more than one person in attendance so we can keep on supporting having visiting instructors here. That would be fantastic. But yeah, I'll turn it right back over to David, and you can hang out as long as you want. And like I said, I'll have our Kung Fu People just just doing their thing behind me. So no
Hey,
worries there.
could I ask a question? What's the fee? I don't
Oh,
actually
it's
even know.
$30.
$30.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Yep. So
Thank you.
you can PayPal wudakungfu@gmail.com. That'd be great. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Um,
Cool.
yeah,
I'll be
this is
quiet now.
this is so much information, and I've had to go as quickly as possible through all of this stuff. But we are at the summation now, which is the fifth gate, the Baihui cavity on the tip top of your head. If I had shaved my head today, it would have been more helpful, but you know where it is. So the Baihui is on the very tip top of your head. It's a very sensitive little place, but it's difficult sometimes for us to bring our mind there and feel it. That's why we do this tapping to connect to it and just sort of wake it up. Remember, this Baihui cavity not only is on the small circulation path, which of course means it's also on the grand circulation path, but it's also the structure through which your core consciousness can emit from the body up and out and go do stuff. This is like our spirit experience. Some people may not be very spiritual, but that's what we're getting into it in this point in the class. So this is your energy body that we're talking about. And remember, the upper energy center has retinal cells that point up. They're looking up through this point to help us connect energetically through the Baihui, up and out. In the Bible, they refer to the silver cord, which is this little tether that tethers us to heaven. They don't talk a whole lot about how it works, what the energetic practices are, what happens during death, what heaven entails, how many different realms there are there, what the process is of rebirth and all of that in most of the Western traditions. But in Buddhism, it's explained in graphic detail. I highly recommend the book Mind of Clear Light by the Dalai Lama. His early books are practice books. Anyway, so in the 5 gates practice, we're not only practicing with the hands and feet, but also Baihui. You're going to inhale and visualize that you can draw energy in, or almost like inhale through the tip top of the head, down through the core of the body, and then exhale through the hands and feet. Inhale from the top of the head. Exhale through the hands and feet. In some Qigong lineages and some Tai Chi lineages, this is called the 3 treasures exercise, or reuniting heaven, human, and earth. You're inhaling from above, drawing this energy into the body, exhaling through the hands and feet, emitting that energy into the earth, connecting you to your roots. So again, inhale from the top of the head, exhale through the hands and feet. And we're just trying to become a conduit, creating this flow from above. Inhale from above, through the tip top of the head. Exhale through the hands and feet. Keep going with your breathing. Keep repeating, and I'll explain a little bit more. You're inhaling from the top of the head. Use reverse abdominal breathing. Exhaling through the hands and feet. Some people will say, I don't know what I'm inhaling from outside. I don't want to just draw just anything into my body, right? That's a reasonable concern if you're taking this seriously. It's like, what are we inhaling here now? I don't want to draw spirits into my head. I don't want to become possessed. You can think of it, if you're a more material person and less into spiritual practice, you can think of it purely as the sun is the reason that all life exists. The sun's electromagnetic field is conjoined with the Earth's electromagnetic field. The Earth's electromagnetic field is 6 times the diameter of the Earth. It's this big, weighty energy field we're standing inside of. We're immersed like fish in water with energy. You can purely just be drawing pure energy, electromagnetic energy into your head. That's equally valid. But if you're practicing for a more traditional or on the more spiritual side, this tether through the tip top of the head leads to another chakra, another energy center that's outside of our bodies. This is sort of like, you can think of it like 1 foot above your head, like a little helium balloon to a little star above your head. And from there, it tethers further to another source. This little star, this ball of energy above our head, is still part of our body, but it is at a higher frequency than our body can handle. So in this practice now, our goal is to visualize light in order to transmute our frequency to this higher state so that our higher consciousness can come down to meet us in the meeting place, 1 foot above our head. So, as we're practicing the same exercise, we'll also move our arms to help facilitate this downward flow. You're inhaling from the top of the head, gathering energy in, leading it down to fill the entire body. Now we're just energizing the physical body. Reaching out to the sides, inhaling through the top of the head, gathering energy in, filling the arms and the legs, the internal organs, the heart, the lungs, the mind. Visualize the energy that's entering through the tip top of your head as bright white or golden light. See if you can visualize this white light or golden light pouring in through the top of the head and immediately filling, flooding the body. Through the fingers, the toes, every single place fills with this bright light. Inhale a couple more times in through the top of the head, deliver energy into the body. Maybe you physically feel it changing a little bit as you focus on drawing this energy in. If you're getting a little bit of a headache on the tip top of your head, don't worry about it. Just keep going and it will gradually fade. Be gentle though, don't force it or rush. Now we're communicating through this tether to our outer energy center above the top of the head. This is more traditional yogic training that sort of is outside of YMAA training with Master Yang. This upper energy center above our heads is vibrating at a much higher frequency. It's too much to be within the body in its full capacity. But that higher frequency is high enough that we can reach through that place to an even higher frequency of energy and meet in the middle. So now, if you feel like you've connected to it, we're going to change the color of the light that we're visualizing to a bright ultraviolet, bright purple. Inhale and gather that color in through the top of the head. If you can visualize bright ultraviolet entering the core of the center line of the head, pouring down through the entire physical body, filling the fingers, the toes, the hands and feet, the arms and legs, the internal organs, your heart and lungs, your thyroid, your brain. Slowly, we draw this energy in and flood the body with ultraviolet light. This is an even higher frequency of energy above our usual qi frequency. Feel that Ultraviolet light permeating every cell within your entire body. In ancient Taoism, they would say, visualize your body as like a slender vessel. You pour this heavenly nectar from above, it glides down the center and then pools in the bottom, in your real lower dantian. Ultimately, we're charging this battery with higher frequency energy, whatever we can take. And it doesn't take long once you tap into it and have a feeling for it, and your body can only take so much at once. So when you're ready to finish now, you lower your hands, lower your arms down, exhale, and finish with your hands on the abdomen. Place the center of the palms on top of one another. Finish there, holding the mind inside the real lower dantian. This is called firming the qi in its residence, returning the qi to its origin. Now, energetically, if you're someone who's hypersensitive, you might feel like you're this big ball of energy in the abdomen with this tiny little tether that goes up into space. Or you might feel more subtly physical sensations like a pressure in the abdomen or a swirling in the abdomen and a kind of funny, almost discomfort on the top of your head. The pineal gland is activated. The third eye is energized. You're communicating to your higher self through this gate, the crown chakra in the top of the head. So in general, in a practice that becomes a little bit more spiritual like this, it's advisable to bring the hands together with the thumbs touching the chest, directing energy upward. And whatever you prefer to be grateful for, focus on that. Be grateful for being a human being alive on the earth. Be grateful for being in a safe environment. Whatever you choose, evoke a sense of gratitude. And then from our heart, the center of your chest, we want to communicate upward to that ball of light 1 foot above the crown of the head and identify with it. That is your higher consciousness. That is your spirit body. That's your energy body. That is what exists after we die and continues to reincarnate life after life. So we have this rare opportunity to be connected with it, and we identify it by saying, I am not my body, I am not my thoughts, I am not my emotions, I am that. I am that energy body. And then when you're ready to finish, drop your arms. Sometimes people need to sort of rub the top of the head to make it stop. You don't need to make it stop, but sometimes people are like, okay, that started getting weird. I had enough of that. Either way, it's fine. Shake it out, sigh out a few breaths. Inhale deeply, rock back and forth on your feet. And I hope I gave you enough to get started with a grand circulation practice. Ultimately, as I said, once you understand the in and out of this grand circulation, you should be able to incorporate it into whatever Kung Fu forms, your Tai Chi, your weapons forms, and really feel the Chi more and more and more. Okay.
I have a question if you're okay with that. Yeah.
So
yeah, in simple terms, right? So if I were to, this requires a small amount of setup. If I was to like describe a rainbow to a 5-year-old, I'd be like, it's an arc and it's got a lot of colors in it. And I wouldn't talk necessarily about like refraction and, you know, light and dark and what happens in the sky or like any meteorological details. So my question, or rather like clarification, is would you say that in those terms, like really simple terms, the difference or one of the differences between like small circulation and grand circulation is that if you're incorporating grand circulation, you're interacting with something outside of the body?
Sort of. So small circulation literally means this center line along the body.
Okay.
It's only the microcosmic orbit. I don't have that image with me right now. Really? No. It's literally this pathway only, the small circulation path. Grand circulation is sort of an umbrella term that means whole body practice.
Okay.
Or expanding the Wei Qi for general health expansion, or what we just did, which is beyond the scope of the YMAA curriculum, but is a very, very traditional Buddhist and pre-Buddhist way of, you know, taking the grand circulation all the way out to the universe.
Okay. That makes sense. I like that.
I hope so.
David, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so in the small circulation and the 4 gates breathing, you breathe in through your hands and your feet, and you breathe out through your hands and your feet. And then when you add in grand circulation, you're breathing in through the crown. But one thing that I wasn't clear on is, are you only breathing in through the crown and then breathing out through the hands and the feet? Or are you breathing in through the hands and the feet and the crown, and then breathing out through the hands and the feet and the crown?
You can do both.
Okay.
So I only did the one because I'm always concerned with trying to help people have more energy in general, especially now we need to recharge. Everyone's exhausted and overstimulated and stressed, and the world is actually insane. So we're inhaling, drawing energy in and keeping it. But traditionally, ultimately, it's advisable to do every permutation. So one day you practice, you inhale through all 5 gates, you exhale through all 5 gates. Totally fine. For our practice, we were just sort of working on cultivating more quantity of energy.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Well, I want to let you know that Master Yang is coming to the Northeast in the fall, starting September 30th. He's teaching at John and Michelle's, and then he'll be teaching in YMAA Boston, and then he'll be teaching at YMAA Andover for a couple of weeks.
I think the 24th and 25th. The 24th of September is the White Crane Qigong. Right. The 25th is China.
Yep.
And then the 30th in Newton is going to be hard and soft applications with John and Michelle at Y. Yep. I did have another quick question if you're available for that. So when we were just practicing breathing in through the crown and then pulling down and then down through the feet and through the hands, similar to the question that was just asked, my guess is that it's also possible to breathe in through the feet and then out through the top.
Yes.
To reverse that kind of cycle. Now, bringing in and kind of grounding is going to have a different sort of sensation than bringing up and lifting up. I was wondering if you could talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So it's very traditional in Chinese martial arts and Kung Fu and everything that has come after Chinese martial arts to train when people eventually get into any internal training or energy work, or even like Kundalini work. It's very common nowadays for people to train from the bottom up, right? You hear that all the time, like people have these very dramatic Kundalini experiences where they raise their energy up through the spine or up the back, and it reaches the head and they see fireworks and it cracks their brain open and they have this amazing Kundalini experience with all kinds of drama and emotional turmoil and everything that goes with it, pain and so forth. Arduous months of training. But in general, traditionally, in super ancient times, training from above down allows you to energize your brain first and start activating more of the faculties of your brain, including your morality and your ethics and your conduct and your stronger intention and determination and perseverance and endurance and blah, 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 such that by the time you are drawing more energy down, you're not over energizing the lower energy center and the sexual energy center and creating all kinds of emotional turmoil and drama that typically can happen if people overtrain the lower body first. There's a lot more to that story, but that's the nice short version. So
Okay, no, that makes sense.
you
Thank
can safely practice upward from the feet up through the top of the head and from the top of the head down. But ultimately, you probably want to be more like 60-40 at least, such that you're overemphasizing training in and down. But when we were doing rooting, for instance, the rooting practice, you're inhaling through the soles of the feet to the real lower dantian, exhaling. That's something where you're only really training the lower body. That's going to energize everything from the abdomen down. So you want to make sure that if you like that exercise, you need to also like training your upper center, or else you'll become imbalanced. Any other questions? Okay, well, I highly
Wonderful.
recommend taking a class with Master Yang if you haven't. He won't be coming out here as often as we like, and who knows how long it will last. I'm sure there's a topic that will be interesting. Andover is doing purely Qigong for the whole weekend, and that looks like a really special weekend. I think we'll be filming that for DVDs, which we still make, believe it or not, and streaming videos. But being there in person is just so much cooler.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, David. It was really great to have you. It's always wonderful, and we'll be sending out the link. Metaverse, Mr. Metaverse, if you can get me your email at some point, I'll get you the link to the recorded property.
Yeah, I'll email it.
Yeah, thanks so much.
I want you all to know also, yes, we're going to send you the video so you can practice along or answer some questions by revisiting it. But also, I'm sending a handout that gives you a little bit more detailed walkthrough of everything that we did.
Great. Awesome.
Well,
thank you so much.
All so much. Really appreciate it.
Take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay cool.
Thank you. Bye.